If your team got guaranteed money, tell them call me.
Whoop. Make me say, my.
I done been around the world.
Yeah, I was made for this.
Player Performance with J.A. Cavalier.
Welcome to NBA Player Performance on this Monday, the second Monday of 2025. It is the Shark guest hosting for J.A. Cavalier, our guy taking the day off, crushed the NFL yesterday, prepping for some NFL talk this afternoon. But we have Luke here. We got 6 games on the card today, a lot of opportunities to discuss and, of course, dominate. Luke, what's going on, brother?
I love it. You know, it's you and me. We're rocking with the NBA. I got my NBA gear on. We're ready to roll. I think we got some takes in pretty much every game tonight. So free plays, leans, official plays, we got it all coming at you.
Absolutely. All business, no fluff, not waiting around. 7:30, Detroit Pistons at New York Knicks. An official play from me, Detroit +8. Going back to old reliable, I feel like I back this team every time they suit up, but it just keeps getting better. We said it in the fall when we were on here. We thought they'd be a bye team. They kind of hit a cold stretch, but they have found it in the last 15. 11-4 straight up, 9-5-1 ATS, 5-2 ATS last 7 on the road. And I think very important within those non-covers, final game of trips, only non-covers. So fatigue spots at the back end of travel. This is a road one-off, and this is a great spot to fade the Knicks. The Knicks played an incredible basketball game yesterday afternoon at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks were not watching NFL football. They were not distracted. They hammered the Bucks 140-106. Now you get to fade the Knicks in the second leg of a back-to-back. They are 1-3 ATS second leg back-to-back, 0-2 ATS if they covered the previous night. And this is a great buy low for Detroit within this matchup historically. As you guys know, Detroit has been abysmal for seasons. Almost 100 games under 500 the last 4 seasons. The Knicks had beaten the Pistons 16 consecutive times before finally taking a loss at Madison Square Garden on December 7th. When you dominate a team that long and you win one, Detroit wins one, I should say, it's not supposed to come back to the Knicks. Detroit's supposed to continue upward momentum. Books agree. Knicks 8.5 before, 7 open here. This will be a tight game inside of 6 points. Love Detroit tonight, as I always do. Take it at +8. Let's cash. Luke, any thoughts on this game?
Shark, I just love your Detroit loyalty this season, and it's paying off. I mean, they're overperforming in a lot of spots, and like you hit the nail on the head, 140 points yesterday. New York, if they don't come out a little flat, I would be surprised. It just feels like Detroit could win this game outright. I honestly think they could. I don't have any official props in this game. Along the same lines of, I guess, fading New York, I would lean Jalen Brunson under 7.5 assists. I just don't think they're going to shoot the ball as well. I think, you know, they'll try to spread the love a little bit. So I guess my take would be fade Jalen Brunson potentially. And if you're going to back Pistons, I mean, you can't go wrong with Malik Beasley this year. He's just been scoring the ball frequently. His 3-point line tonight shows me that they expect him to score over under 3.5 made threes. So fade Brunson, possibly back Beasley if you're looking for a little bit of prop action here.
Yeah, keeping it moving here. 7:30 north of the border in Toronto. We're buying low on a historical non-playoff team in the East with the Pistons, and we are selling the Raptors tonight with emphasis, taking the Warriors officially at -5.5. And when you start to look at where the Warriors are, 19-19 straight up. Steph Curry said, we're mid right now. Well, their record certainly is absolutely on the mean of neutrality, and I expect upward movement here. It's also a very unique calendar spot. Third game of a road trip off a loss in Indiana on Friday night. Key point, however, the Dubs did not play any of their stud players. Steph sat out, Draymond sat out. Now they get to stay on the road off a loss where they have performed great this year, going 3-0 ATS in this spot. Toronto is in a funky environment here statistically. They're actually 6-1 ATS at home against the West. I love selling that. And I know a lot of people would say, Shark, why are you selling where they appear to be great? Well, I went through it. Denver, Lakers, Sacramento, and Minnesota, all four teams performing terribly at the East. And they did backdoor Dallas and Houston. Houston, in a game, they shot 25% from the three-point line. Effectively, a 6-1 sample that is completely outlierish. You want to sell it. And final point on this in terms of the line. Last year in Toronto, Golden State did hammer the Raptors 120-105 on a -3.5. Books moving the line up towards the Dubs, confirming another cover is coming. And something Luke and I were talking about off the air. If you look at some sports books, we were looking at DraftKings. DraftKings has alternate lines you can buy. They're steaming this all the way up to -28.5 if you really feel like laying that. The fact that's even on the board speaks to potentially a blowout, and the price gaps are not particularly wide. If you're laying -9.5 here alternate, you're only getting +145 back. And that means books think it's actually probable for a blowout because they pay you back more if it's improbable. Luke, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, my play here, if you're gonna take one, it's again not an official play here, but I'm going RJ Barrett under. I think his lines. I have it at 21.5 points. People love Barrett this year. He's scoring the ball frequently. He is averaging 23 a game, but that's because this Raptors lineup was depleted for a while. They are back healthy. Scotty Barnes in the lineup. Emmanuel Quickly in the lineup. They have Jakob Pertl. They have a lot of guys that can actually get a bucket and actually Barrett's been playing a little bit injured lately. Look at his last 5 games. He's gone under this line in 4 of 5 games, and averaging just 17.8 over the last 4. He's not getting up as many shots. I just think the Warriors defense is way too good to allow Barrett to go off tonight. So fade Barrett in the points category if you're going to make a play.
Yeah, I think fading at all things Raptors tonight is the correct take. My official, Dubs, -5.5. Let's dominate. Going to Luke, 8 o'clock. National game here. Grizzlies at Rockets. Rematch of a game played last week. Rockets got the Grizzlies at the Grindhouse by 4. Rockets also blew out the Grizzlies at home at the Toyota Center early season by 20. Double revenge game Grizzlies. All of a sudden, Ja Morant pops up on the injury report. We don't know what that's about. But nonetheless, Luke looking at Zach Edey in the points market over 6.5.
I am. So obviously we have the Ja Morant questionable tag. I do feel that if he's playing, there's extra value on Edey here, but I'm going to take it regardless. I don't care who's playing because Edey's going to start this game. He played and has been starting the last few games. I like it as a buy low spot because he just put up only 4 points against this same Rockets team last Thursday. But if you look at that game, he only played 18 minutes. He had 5 fouls. He was in foul trouble the whole game. I actually like Edey to start getting more minutes. All of December, he played 26 minutes per game. And what did he put up? He produced. He put up 11.5 points per game, 10.5 rebounds per game. This 7'4" rookie can play in the NBA. He's slowly working on his outside shot, but he's proving that he is going to be a starter or at least a formidable component of some roster for a while. Again, that's Zach Edey over 6.5 points. I think with Bane and Morant driving and kicking, he's going to get a few open looks. I see him for double digits tonight.
Yeah, I obviously don't cap this in the level you do. I wouldn't disagree. And I think Ja probably will play. Of course, the injury report in this league is constantly moving, very unpredictable. We have no idea why Ja's on the injury report. Sometimes you think to yourself, maybe just to confuse the opponent all afternoon in their game plan. I mean, I have no idea because this is a really important game for the Grizzlies. As we said, double revenge, divisional opponent. They need this game. So we hope Ja plays, and Ja will obviously facilitate Zach Edey and get him over in the points market. Official from Luke, over 6.5, Zach Edey points. Staying with Luke, 10:30 on the West Coast. 2 games tonight, both in LA. J.A. Cavalier, our guy and our boss, we love him to death, Talked about this on Friday. Sending you guys amazing vibes. One of the hardest situations to deal with in the history of this country, and I'm not overstating that. I was looking at some footage last night of this fire. It is expansive. It looks like something out of a movie, and that is not a joke in any way. I want to send you guys all the best vibes out there. JA said he donated to Red Cross. We are here sending you guys all the energy. Basketball returns tonight to LA, and I think it's a very interesting conversation. How will these teams deal with living in this environment? We got a bunch of takes in the Lakers game, but we're going Clippers first at the Intuit Dome. Kawhi Leonard recently returned from the injury list. I don't think anybody thought he was going to play ball ever again, but we find him here tonight against the Heat. No Jimmy Butler. That is irrelevant. Taken over in the PRA market for Kawhi, over 19.5.
Yes, that is my official play. Thank you for hitting on the factor of everyone dealing with the stuff out west. We can't fully empathize. All we can do is send thoughts, prayers, and good vibes. As Sharky said, we want to send that to everybody out west. And by doing that, we got to give a free prop winner to everyone out west. I like Kawhi over 19.5 points, rebounds, and assists. You alluded to the fact he's injured pretty much all of the time. You know, when has he played last consistently? I'm not sure, but he's got 2 games under his belt this year. He didn't look great, but he didn't look bad. Like, he didn't look like he was nursing an injury. He played season debut on January 4th. He's now had a week of rest. I love the fact that he's now had time to recover. I think he's coming into this game full energy, and the line means everything here. So on his 2 games this season, he's averaging 14 PRA. The odds makers post this 5.5 PRA. That's essentially more than 33% above his season average. They're telling you they expect him to get more shots up. And what I see is more rebounding. He's only put up a couple rebounds in each game. Historically, he's almost at 7 rebounds per game. He can fill up a box score and stat sheet with the best of them. Give me Kawhi over 19.5 PRA. I think he plays 20 to 25 minutes tonight. Do you agree? Disagree?
You know, honestly, as we always say, you are the prop master. You look at it, we don't. We trust you. And I think your point on the numbers being the sharpest point of the take, let the numbers tell you the story. Books know everything we know as sports fans and handicappers. They integrate every single narrative into the line. If they're moving it up, it's for good reason. Luke on it officially. Kawhi over PRA. Staying in LA, we're going across town here. We're going to crypto.com, and I'm taking the Spurs officially at +4. And this is not just because we're fading the Lakers with the chaos in their hometown. This is really a great buy on the Spurs. The Spurs, very similar to Detroit, have been terrible for seasons and are showing significant upward movement this season. They are 8-3 ATS last 11, but key point tonight, they actually come into this game 0-3 ATS last 3. A very nice buy low. And something I found, which is incredible for this handicap, at no point this season have the Spurs lost 4 games in a row or not covered 4 games in a row. So here's their L3. This is where they bounce back. And you look at some of those losses in recent history, total melt in the 4th quarter at Chicago, really inexplicable to be perfectly honest. Lost in overtime to Denver, covered the 48, didn't cover in overtime, and a shooting outlier against Milwaukee. And going to the Lakers side of this game, this is a terrible spot for the Lakers. The Lakers are coming off of 2 road losses. They've been off for 5 days. As we said, this is not where you want to buy a team living in effectively a fire apocalypse. You know, we hate to say it. And I have written down here, the psychology of this fire situation is disruption. It is not inspiration. And that's what happens when there's a natural disaster or some sort of huge off-the-field issue. It usually goes one of 2 ways, 0 or 100. Totally fired up and inspired, or totally disrupted and deflated. And I think that's where the Lakers will be tonight. And as I said, with the Knicks Pistons handicap, same thing here. Lakers are 8-1 straight up last night against the Spurs. Great buy low, large window. And the Lakers are 2-0 ATS and straight up against the Spurs this year. beating them in San Antonio in the NBA Cup by 5, and most recently by 18. This line is short. It should be 5.5, 6, or 7. It is hovering down for all the reasons I just discussed. I know I talked about this with JA off the record. We think the Spurs get an outright win tonight. Buy it at +4 and let's cash. Luke is looking at the prop market because of course he is. And he's looking at an over for Austin Reeves, which does correlate to the game flow probably being higher where the Spurs play efficiently. Austin Reeves over PRA 31.5.
So yeah, I was going to ask your take on the scoring of this game because I'm banking on it being higher scoring. I'm hoping that's how you guys feel. And hey, you picked an outright dog winner. I love it. Let's maybe sprinkle on the money line. I know your official play is +4, but I like them to win outright. Even though my prop is Austin Reeves, I don't think that affects really who wins the game. Reeves is just playing dominant basketball. He's averaging 18, 4, and 6 on the season, and he's playing 35 plus minutes. If you haven't watched him, he passes the eye test way more than you'd ever think he would have like a couple years ago. It's just crazy what he's doing for this Lakers team. And so I'm on his PRA. The last piece of this, I don't think Wemby, he's a rim protector, but I don't think his presence really affects what Reeves does as much as maybe Anthony Davis or LeBron around the rim. And then the last point, again, he's just absolutely crushing this number lately. Over the last 7 games, Reeves averages 38 PRA. That is filling a box score. His line tonight is 31.5, which is still high in general, but I think he goes over it again tonight. So Austin Reeves over 31.5 PRA.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't disagree with that. I think we're going to see a higher scoring game. Last game finished 119-101. Of course, that is 220 points. This line is higher than it at 220.5. That is not a huge move, of course, only a half point, but it does suggest more points. And something that Luke and I were discussing before the show, with this natural disaster and this whole thing being off for basically a week, it does not speak to coming back with Game 7 defense at all. I think the distraction leads to a wide open game, a YMCA-style run. We always joke about the men on the Saturday. There's no defense. I think you're going to see no defense tonight. I think the Spurs function very well in that environment. Taking the Spurs at +4 and Austin Reeves over PRA 31.5. Only game we didn't discuss officially on this Monday, Washington hosting the Timberwolves. Washington on a back-to-back got absolutely hammered against Oklahoma City last night. You would expect maybe a more competitive environment from them tonight. And the Minnesota Timberwolves ultimately not competing very well as a heavy road favorite at the Eastern Conference. Psychology in this game does not like the Wolves at all. Luke, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I just don't think this game's predictable from either a spread standpoint or a prop market. I don't know if the Timberwolves are going to show up or just kind of like lollygag and make this a close game. I really have no idea. I don't see in the analytics a lot of value either. I have a feeling it's more of a guessing game. Be smart, stay away. I know when to throw my hands up and say pass on this game. So I have no official plays for you in this market.
Yeah, truthfully, it's a terrible spot for Minnesota. They're coming off a game against Memphis, a tight loss, a real excruciating one. Now they got to play at Washington tonight. Out of conference, no rivalry. Next game, national home game on Wednesday against Golden State. And then they go to New York on Friday to play at Madison Square Garden. Then they get Cleveland on Saturday afternoon. I mean, this is the trap of all traps. You just don't take Minnesota tonight. This team is just not functioning well in this spot at all. But who is functioning well in this spot? The Shark, Luke Shuey, and of course, J.A. Cavalier. It is NBA Player Performance on this Monday, January the 13th, 2025. I have 3 top plays. Detroit +8, San Antonio +4, Golden State -5.5. Luke, 3 top plays. Zach Edey over in the points market, 6.5. Kawhi Leonard over PRA, 19.5. And Austin Reeves over PRA, 31.5. As we said, sending all the best vibes to people in LA. We cannot empathize, as Luke said. It is far more difficult than any words can describe. We hope you guys are fighting through it. We know you will come through it. It does get better over time, inevitably. Have a great day. Always bet responsibly. Let's cash these tickets and let's dominate.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort.
Suffocation, no breathing, don't give a fuck if I cut my arm bleeding.